Then be prepared to work your dream, because it's work. Being a business owner is a lot of work. They'll support your business because you've brought something to them that is original.
People are looking for this. What's something different we could do today? They're looking for this unique experience to kind of excite them.
We had a lot of people that said, well, that's a crazy idea, and I don't think it's going to work there, and I don't think it's going to work at all. It's not maybe sometimes what it looks like from the outside, but it's worth it to own your dream.
Husband and wife working together can be amazing or totally toxic. What do you do when you disagree?
I'll go to Google.
I'm here sharing inspiring stories about fearless entrepreneurial women to help encourage you to live your life unapologetically. I'm your host, Heather Blankenship. Welcome to the Unapologetically Me podcast.
On today's episode, I'm actually in Tupelo, Mississippi, which is where I am originally from. I haven't lived here, y'all, since I was in like 9th grade, but most of my family still lives here, and we are back visiting, and I'm getting to chat with some of the local business owners, and I'm so excited to introduce y'all to Miss Tiffany Frank. I went downtown to have dinner with my family, and afterwards, they took us to this dessert store that was freaking amazing, y'all. I had this s'more pie, and it was the best tasting dessert I have ever had. They also offer these really cute Skillet cookies that take like 25 minutes to make, and they have all these amazing toppings. My kids loved it, and it's just this cute little spot that people go downtown as an after-hours place, because in a small town like this, there's not a lot of things that are open late, and Tiffany has been so successful at this, she's actually opened multiple locations. A lot of times people think they have to be in this perfect location or this giant city in order to pull off something like this that they're dreaming up. Tupelo, Mississippi has a population of like 37,000 people. It's not a big city by any means, and she's still totally killing it. So let's dive in. Tiffany, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you today because we went to dinner the other night with my family, and afterwards we went to Park Heights. We walked over to this cute little dessert store, and I ate this amazing s'mores pie. Yeah. And you own the dessert store.
I do.
It's so adorable on the inside. One of the things I loved was that not only did you see people on dates there, but there were families, and it was kind of meeting the needs of everybody who was looking for that something on a Friday night after dinner. How did you come up with this concept?
Well, that's exactly how we came up with the concept. We wanted somewhere that people could go after dinner. We have never really been part of a bar scene, and because we got married young, had kids young, and so we were with our kids a lot. But every so often, if we did get to have a date night and the babysitter was still on the clock, we would want somewhere to finish up our night. And you know, there's really not anywhere to go after a restaurant, because a lot of times if a restaurant's busy, we want to get out of their space and let them turn their tables. And so, especially in a town the size of Tupelo, TJ Maxx is our Hobby Lobby or Barnes and Noble.
We end up walking around the grocery store.
That's it. You end up just walking in a retail place just to spend a little bit more time together. So it has evolved into a place that teenagers come and hang out, or women's groups come and hang out, girls' night out. But our original idea was a place that people could come and grow their relationships and sit over a cup of coffee and dessert and do that.
How'd you come up with the Skillet cookie?
So the Skillet cookie, that's really funny because it was not supposed to make it on the menu.
Wait, for those who haven't been to Crave, tell us what the Skillet cookie is.
So the Skillet cookie is it's made from scratch cookie dough, but it's not exactly the ingredients of like a chocolate chip cookie. And then it's poured into a ceramic skillet. It's baked for about 22 minutes until the edges are golden brown and the middle is still gooey. Then we top it with 2 large scoops of ice cream, and then top that with caramel and chocolate syrup. So that's the Skillet cookie. And it's made to order while you're waiting. That's why it takes a minute, but it's worth the wait. Yeah.
I love that. And so how did this concept and idea evolve into 11 years in 3 locations? Because a lot of people have a dream of doing something like this, but actually turning it into something that is sustainable and stays open for that long is a true testament to some not only great ideas, but business skills. Because it's not just making a great cookie, right?
It's not. I think the community supporting it obviously went a long way. And if the community would not have been behind it, because this may not work everywhere, but if the community would not have supported it like they do, then, I mean, there's no way. It would probably have.
And let's talk about the community a little bit. Not everybody knows what Tupelo, Mississippi is. We're a population of 37,000 people. And I think sometimes people feel like, oh, I don't live in this, whatever the big city they can think of is, so my business isn't going to work. But sometimes there's some advantages to being in a smaller city because you do have the community behind you, where in a bigger city you might not have that. Kind of drowned in the numbers.
Well, I think, and like with our business, that's what we're constantly doing. You saw the aesthetics of the place. What we've constantly tried to do is to bring something that you don't have to go to New York to experience or Miami to experience. You can experience in a small town. And because everybody isn't maybe able, because they're raising kids or they're in school or whatever they're doing, they can't fly to New York next weekend or go to Miami. But they'll support your business because you've brought something to them that is original and that makes them feel like they're not in a small town. So I think that's been a big part of it too.
So 11 years ago, you start Crave. Was it in the same location downtown?
It was not in the same location. We found an old law office over by the old courthouse, and I didn't really want to open it. I was busy as a realtor. I loved being a real estate agent. That had been a dream of mine, and we were becoming empty nesters, and we kept looking for something like we have now out of town, and it was very rare to even find it out of town in a big city like Atlanta or somewhere they have something like we have. But my husband kept saying, you need to do it. And I said, no, somebody else needs to do this. I don't have time. I don't need to do it, because we did a lot of other things too. And he pushed me to call about the space. I did, and the ball started rolling from there. We had a lot of people that said, well, that's a crazy idea, and I don't think it's going to work there, and I don't think it's going to work at all. But we opened up.
But all those people who said that did not own a restaurant or a business, did they?
No, they did not. They did not. And my husband never really wanted me to open a per se restaurant, because he had been a food salesman many moons before and said, no, that's just too much work. We don't have time for that. But we were at that location almost 10 years, and circumstances was pushing us to start looking elsewhere. And we found the space that we're in now. And there again, with that move, everybody knew our quaint little spot on Court Street with the original 100-year-old brick walls. And there were a lot of people that, again, said, I just don't know if they can make it. And we have done more business. It's increased in the new location.
It's obvious. When we were in there, it was packed.
It's been great.
Yes, there were tons of people in there getting carry out, in there waiting on food. So clearly the location is working for y'all.
It's been a great location, and we love being part of downtown Main Street. We have the best downtown Main Street. I mean, it's obvious. If you were there, you saw.
Yes, it's adorable.
It is. It's great.
It's not what it was when I was a kid. I haven't lived here in 20 years, and it has been rejuvenated truly. So for the woman out there thinking, I have this great idea, but I don't know if it's for me. I'm kind of scared to move forward. What if it doesn't work out? What would you say to her? What are some pieces of advice or words of encouragement on taking that leap?
I think there's a few things I would say. First of all, the fun part is getting excited about something and dreaming big. I'm great at that. Like, I have a business idea a week, if not a day. That's the fun part. So I would say then put it to paper. That was one thing my husband, I don't want to say made me do, because that sounds like, he's this ogre or whatever. He said, you got to write out a business plan. And I thought, I'd just rather be dead. I don't want to do that. And he said, no.
You're truly the visionary of the business.
Yes. And so I wrote out my business plan. And I think if you can stay excited and keep that passion and that excitement through then having to write it down and work out the logistics and figure out, well, how are you going to pay for it? And what's the overhead going to look like, and what do I have to do in sales? And if you can keep that passion through all that and the dream stays big, then I think that you have to really start thinking, okay, this might be something that I really need to do, and then figure out how to make it work. And that comes from lots of different areas. We were working hard in some other areas and saving in some other areas to make this dream happen. And so I would say, and then be prepared to work your dream, because it's work. Being a business owner is a lot of work. People look at sometimes maybe business owners and think they've got it made, but it's not maybe sometimes what it looks like from the outside. But it's worth it to own your dream.
Listen, y'all, I know today's episode is inspiring, but inspiration alone will never carry us to our ultimate goals. That's why I started the Society of Entrepreneurial Women. It's a mastermind for high-performing female investors and entrepreneurs who are living their lives unapologetically. In a world where most people don't get us, or they try to keep us confined in a small box, the Society exists to turn off the brakes and set you free. We have weekly calls covering investing, wealth building, health, relationships, family, and a whole lot more. We have small tribes to hold each other accountable to our goals. We have in-person, ladies-only retreats to disconnect and drive each other towards our dreams. And most importantly, this is a community where you can be unapologetically you. Celebrate your wins, scream your successes from the top of the rooftop, become best friends with women who get you. We're 3 years in, and I can honestly say my best friends today are all from the Society. Click the link in the show notes to learn more.
So you hear people, I hear this regularly from the gurus who talk about businesses, and restaurants are at the top of the list when they say, these always fail, this doesn't do well. What do you think has kept Crave open?
We try to stay fresh. We try to stay consistent. We try to have a great team, which we do, who provides great customer service. The community keeps us open. And I just think it's one of those businesses that people want. So the continued support also keeps it open.
I think because you're creating a unique experience because regardless if we're talking about travel or what people are doing when they're not traveling, people are looking for this. What's something different we could do today? They're looking for this unique experience to kind of excite them. And going into Crave kind of gives you that unique experience you might not get somewhere else. And your decision to kind of go against the grain and be something that's open later that isn't a bar, I think has really helped your business, because there aren't a lot of people doing that. There's nowhere else to go unless you're drinking.
Yeah, and that's true. And that in itself was a risk, because that's not something that people were used to. But we've seen, now COVID changed it a little. We used to be open until midnight, and COVID changed it slightly. When we reopened, we started 11 p.m. was our cutoff, because there's some things that negatively didn't go back to normal. And one of those is that when you're out between 11 p.m. and midnight, you don't see as many people out. A lot of gas stations started closing earlier even after that. And so it's been, I think the other thing too is that we didn't anticipate how many teenagers would come, because parents know it's a safe place that their teens can come. Now, it's not necessarily a teen hangout, but after a football game or after theater or a movie,
it's a good meetup
yeah, parents
spot.
know that their kids are going to be safe there, and it's going to be a good environment that they can trust that their kids can go and extend their night also.
I love that. And so shifting gears a little bit, you opened your first business at 21, and you've kind of been a serial entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. You were a young mom. You've been married for how many years?
34 years.
34 years. That's amazing. Yeah. And now that you're a grandmother, what's something you're working on that you're excited about now? How have things changed a little bit as you've grown and matured in owning a business and your kids are getting a little older?
What I'm working on now is finding ways to make not just Crave, but anything we're doing sustainable for my kids and for my grandkids. I hope that Crave is going to be that business. We do have, all of our kids went to college for different things, but 2 of them have stayed with us and made it their full-time job.
I love
and
that.
Yeah, it's great.
How
and
amazing
so
is that?
I anything that we're working on we're trying to build it so that it is a sustainable business for our family and for our kids and for our grandkids. And so being a serial entrepreneur and having too many ideas in my head sometimes, I've had to learn to rein myself in and think, okay, does this go along with other things we do? Is this something that my kids are going to want to participate in when I retire? And try to make sure things stay in the right, I'm trying to think of the word,
So I read a book a few years ago, and it told a story about an Olympic rowing team that was not supposed to win. And as they were training, they had this coach that was really tough on them. And the coach made them ask themselves, if you're going to go out to dinner tonight, does that make the boat go faster? If you're going to go to the movies with your friends, is that going to make the boat go faster? If you're going to make whatever decision it is, ask yourself, does this make the boat go faster? And as visionaries in a business, I feel like it's so tough to not get shiny object syndrome and distracted by those other dreams that we have. And I like to use that story to remind myself when I'm figuring out the exact same things you're talking about, to say, does this decision make the boat go faster, or is this a distraction? Does this make the boat go faster? And I think it's such a great visual for where you're at and what you're trying to figure out, because it would be really easy in your stage of life to do some other things that interest you. But if you're truly that passionate about being a generational business, like that focus of does this make the boat go faster is so strong.
That is such a great concept, and it's one that I'm going to regret that you've said, because my husband is going to listen to this, and I can't tell you now how many times I'm going to have to hear.
He's going to say, does this make the boat go faster?
And he is going to ask, yes. And it's a great concept, because I am the type, a few years ago, I think we've got about 6 businesses right now, and I had about 10, and there were things that were not making my boat go faster because they didn't line up with our vision for our future and our kids' future. And so that's actually a great concept.
So for the girls that I coach, before we start taking action on whatever it is that they want to do, we make them do an exercise, because I think it's really easy. We're primarily real estate investors, and it's really easy to come in and say, I want to buy an RV park. I want to have a short-term rental. I want to, buy an apartment complex. And we always say, why? And then they say, because it makes great money. No, why do you want to make money? And if we get back to that, my why, I have 5 homeschooled kids. I want more time to be mama. So if I had to go have a regular day job, that would not be more time to be mama, right? So how have you made sure that your life is set up in a way that continues with your why so that it doesn't take over? Because sometimes having a business like Crave can take over your life, and the business you choose, the real estate you invest in, it's got to be aligned with your life. Otherwise, you're just getting another job.
I think for me personally, what we do now lines up with our why, because for one thing, we love being able to give something to our community. And I know that it's not free and it's not a nonprofit, but we are giving an experience to our community with Crave business particularly. And then the other thing is that we're able to connect with people. We love relationships. We love building relationships. We love meeting new people and seeing how they fit in our life and how we fit in their life. And then providing opportunities. Our primary age for employment at any of our businesses is college age. And so we love being able to be that first place for them. And they'll tell anybody that's worked for us will tell you that we've also tried to teach them life lessons. Like, if nobody, you may have never learned this before, but when you work for a job, this is what you do. And we talk to them like a mom or a dad. And so that's also lined up with who we are, of kind of mentoring, because we both do actually mentor. So this business has been perfect to line up with a lot of our whys. for some of those reasons.
Ladies, it's time to redefine the conference experience with the Society of Entrepreneurial Women Retreats. Step inside a world tailored for women just like you, where you can lead, learn, and unwind in style. Our retreats offer everything from insightful investing sessions to fun activities like salsa dancing, boat cruises, food tours, and so much more, ensuring you come back not just inspired, but truly refreshed. Join a community that celebrates you wholly and supports your every endeavor. Ready for a retreat that changes the game? Visit the link in our show notes and find out how you can be part of this exclusive experience.
I love that, because the skills when you're hiring some of those people who've graduated college are not always the skills that they learn in college, are not the places they're messing up. I had an assistant a few years ago. She had this amazing degree and she should have been great on paper. But when we would give her tasks as simple as like, it's Christmas time, we're going to mail out these 60 packages to our vendors and, you know, you send out your Christmas gifts. And she had written the return label and the to label backwards. So all 60 boxes came back to us. So some of those basic life skills that aren't taught in college, it's great, because even the stuff of like, my mother always says, if you're not 10 minutes early, you're late, right? You got to be on time for work, right? Here's how you clean a toilet, because the bathroom has to be cleaned before the night's over too, right? I love that you're able to teach them some of those, they call them soft skills.
But that's exactly
Life skills,
and that's exactly some of what you said. I still have a video that shows up on my Facebook timeline of some of my first employees at my New Albany location when I taught them how to answer a landline.
Yes,
they were shocked. They kept looking at it; it was ringing, and they didn't know did not know how to answer it or what to do with it. Checks, they will still call and say, this person's giving me a check for a catering order. What is it? What do we do with it? Because they've never seen a check. But my husband does, when in our onboarding, he talks to them about that being on time is a character issue, and some of them have never heard that it's a character issue. It's not just, oh, I run late, it's okay, everybody knows I run late. He talks about if you're on time, you're late, and all those things. So it's great, because and a lot of the sometimes college kids too, you know, their parents are not even here, and it gives us a chance to be family for them and be the gap while they're away from family. So yeah.
So I hear you talking about your husband, and husband and wife working together can be amazing or totally toxic. So how are you and your husband dividing these roles and responsibilities and still staying married? Because that's real.
And that's interesting, yes, because we've also been in ministry a lot of our lives. And so we have worked together probably close to 30 years doing various things. It was real estate. It's been ministry full-time. So we were in ministry full-time together years ago. And then real estate. And then when Crave and some other things grew, he went very part-time being a real estate agent and came on board because he saw how fast some of our businesses were growing, and he said, you know, you've got to pay your sales tax, you got to do all these things, or they're going to padlock the doors. And I would say, well, I can't be bothered with that. That's not I don't want to do that. So it's neat because he has skills and enjoys doing things that I do not like to do. Like we also have a catering company that's an arm of Crave. I love talking to you about us catering your wedding or catering to your office, but I do not want to sit down and do the invoice or even ask for my money because I don't care. I just want to talk to you and let's do all the planning. And so it's been really neat as long as we remember what our strengths and weaknesses are. Now, it's not been perfect 100% of the time, but I feel like we've done really good at trying to make it work and be good. And even being our age, we've had to learn also when to say, okay, we're not talking about work. It's this time of night. Like even though we work together all day long, we could, but we're gonna have boundaries and not talk about work all the time. But I think that we're both very, very fortunate to be able to work with each. I could find a whole lot worse people that he could have to work with every day, and me as well.
So it sounds like y'all have complementary skill sets. You're very much the visionary. he sounds like your integrator, the person checking the list, making sure we've crossed the T's, dotted the I's, and everything is complete. So they're not going to padlock the doors,
Right.
which make y'all a really great team.
Yes. Yes, we're great in that respect. And he also has a lot of great ideas, and but our ideas a lot of times are just completely different in what they pertain to. So I think,
What do you do when you disagree?
oh gosh, what do we do when we disagree? It really depends on what it's over. I'll go to Google.
Look it, this is what it says.
Yes, I'll go to Google. And usually if I'm really, really hard pressed about something, he'll say, okay, well, I'm gonna let you try it, but just remember what I said. And he won't come back and say, I
I'm
told
telling
you
this
so.
ain't gonna work.
Yeah,
Just
he'll
remember
say,
that.
Well, he'll say, when we were talking, that had been a concern. Yeah. So I think, he does not hold me back.
But I think you have to have the trial and error to know what works.
Right.
Because if you don't try something, there's the saying of like failing forward or failing fast, right? If you don't keep trying some of those ideas, kind of like the Skillet cookie, you'll never know what's going to work.
And I don't mind at all to talk about this. We actually have we had Crave location that we sold, and in a town it just didn't make sense for us anymore. And then I had a Crave location in a town that closed, and it was just everything about it was not right. It was not a good fit, and he was very adamant from the beginning that we not open in that location. But I was very adamant that it was going to be a great idea. It was going to be wonderful. It was going to be the best location ever. And so we, like we do many things, we said, okay, well then, if you really are dead set that you want to do this, then this is what we need to look at doing. But then also, this is the when we come up on this date, if we're not doing these numbers, when we get to here, if we're not doing this, then we need to circle back to the conversation of, is this really a good idea? It was a terrible idea. But he supported me. He was right there with me on opening night and on all the long days that I put myself in having to work more than necessary because it wasn't a great location. And we stayed married after that, and he did not say, I told you so. He helped me when it was time, when I said, okay. Because I do not tend to give up on hardly anything. Sometimes I need to give up on something long before I do. And I rode it to the very end, and then he was there to say, okay, well, we tried it.
Do you realize what a blessing that is? Because a lot of women have husbands that would stop them from doing something, whether they were controlling enough or they were just so on them about it, that it's such a blessing that you've had a husband who could support your wild ideas.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think when you get married young, you don't know that you're looking for those character traits or how important they'll be later on in life. That was a huge blessing for y'all.
It is. And he's a huge blessing. And I don't know that we could be doing what we're doing if I didn't have him and if we didn't have what we have.
Yeah, the complementing skill sets help. That's huge. Well, thanks for having this conversation with me today, Tiffany.
Thanks for having me. It's been great.
I agree. It's been fun.
Remember, authenticity is your superpower. Stay unapologetically yourself, and let's continue embracing our uniqueness together. Make sure you hit that follow button so you don't miss the next episode.